NVIDIA, maybe the most hated stock in the universe, every retail person trying to run from it, ahead of the GTC, the big conference, in 10 days. Right. So I thought the winner was definitely Broadcom, but it also made me think that maybe you should start paying attention to NVIDIA from an earnings per share side. Because you've got that many hyperscalers, could be better. I mean, yes. I hate to say it because I like it so much. I'd like to see a whoosh down in NVIDIA. And we have.
So you don't think 109 was the short-term low?
Yeah, I'd like to see everybody out of it ahead of when Jensen Huang reveals why we want to own Blackwell and Rubin.
We do have that death cross on the SMH.
The death cross,
that was fun yesterday.
Yeah, the Holy Sepulchre. I don't know. David, I know you look at the death cross and the golden cross.
Always.
And
I'm a head and shoulders.
Yeah, and the cross of gold.
Reverse head and shoulders.
Where's the cross of gold?
I also like the old double reverse Mars Trust. That's a good one.
NVIDIA's lost $1 trillion in market cap since its high in early January. That's pretty remarkable. $1 trillion in market cap wiped out.
While revenues and earnings continue to get stronger and stronger. And that's where, as an investor, you have to say, the market doesn't believe the E of NVIDIA, because NVIDIA right now is trading at a PE below Apple, right? Apple's revenues and earnings are growing in the single digits. NVIDIA's revenues and earnings are growing in the 70 to 100%. Yet, even though Apple is not growing, the market says, well, it's not growing, but I feel comfortable with the E. The market doesn't feel comfortable with the E on NVIDIA. I think there'll be a point here on the chips when you just have to plug your nose and buy them, because I promise if you look at Broadcom, Dell's ISG Group, NVIDIA, Marvell, the data center trade is not slowing down. Well, the data center trade is great for jobs.
Marvell was ugly, right? After earnings.
But their earnings were great.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The stock went down the way it did. Even Broadcom had strong results, and that stock was going to be our chart of the day. Pulled that off because the reaction in the market wasn't as strong as it was. Now it's ramping a little bit further up. But what about this space, chips, which have been weak?
It's been difficult. But I mean, I think the view from here, as you were citing, is the earnings, the multiples. These are getting in value ranges. And I think that's what's really attractive here. And I think that's one of the reasons with the pessimism is that I think we can have a really nice rally out of this. Again, I'm not saying it bottoms in, but Broadcom is one of our larger holdings. 78% year over year growth in the AI segment. This is just tremendous stuff. In NVIDIA's earnings, at least it's not shaking it off like it did NVIDIA's quite yet. But I think these names, they have a place in your portfolio. We like them. And I think we're going to see them have better days.
It all depends. And I want to say one more thing on NVIDIA. One of the things that I wonder about a lot is I don't think it's the real NVIDIA investors who are selling that, who've sold it down 25%. If we think about the work that Bob Pisani did on those crazy single stock ETFs, right? Where let's say you thought you missed out on NVIDIA 2 months ago and you got in late and you bought a 2 times leverage NVIDIA exchange traded fund, and now you're washed out, and then that's compounded. I think the pain in some of these stocks, like NVIDIA, to Bryn's excellent point, is trading cheaper than Apple and still has 70% earnings growth ahead. I don't think the pain's from people making a fundamental decision on that. I think it's from these like Yahoo kooky fringes that are now being forced to sell, and that takes the money out, because I think the vast majority are sitting on those positions. But it's just, there's maximum uncertainty right now, and you can't deal with that as an investor.
So first up is NVIDIA. The once market darling is on pace for its third straight negative week. It's down about 16% so far this year. Quint, you say sell. Why?
Well, let me preface, Morgan. First of all, thanks for having me, but we are significantly oversold. So I would expect that we see a pretty decent rally in all of these names that we're going to talk about today. So I don't necessarily think that today is a good idea to sell this name. But if you are caught in this name and you have watched it decline and you are hoping and praying for a relief rally, when it comes, I think you should consider lightening the position here. Ultimately, NVIDIA is a textbook play on the early adoption and phase of AI, clearly selling, chips, incredible fundamentals. And now we're seeing a movement away from that. And ultimately, there's a lot of uncertainty. And what you're going to hear from a variety of people out there is now how inexpensive from a valuation standpoint the stock is. It was trading 35 times forward earnings near the peak. Now it's only trading at 20. The problem is those earnings are decelerating. It's still trading 21 times sales. And we just think there's too much uncertainty and the technical trade is broken. So a relief rally here, which I do believe possibly has started today, will allow you to lighten up and sell this into strength.
Okay. We think that the growth rates are going to be higher for longer. And so let's just look at NVIDIA as an example. Next year, the street's looking for just over 20% revenue growth, down from like 80% in calendar 25 down to mid 20% in calendar 26. I think that number can be meaningfully higher, 35, 40%. And it seems a little bit out of touch with reality, those kind of expectations. But if we're right on that, I think that these stocks will move higher. And just one of the reasons, where does that confidence come from, is that if you take some of Jensen's comments that he had on the last quarter about this 100 to 1,000,000x more compute needed to get to reasoning and advanced reasoning AI, and as we went out and talked to people who are building these, they're companies in our portfolio, private companies, public companies, it's pretty clear he's onto something. And ultimately, if that's the case, and this is going to, I think, surprise some people, is I think that NVIDIA's, some of its growth could potentially accelerate early next year relative to the back half of 25.
Well, we said nearly $1 trillion in market cap wiped out since the beginning of the year, or near so, when the stock did hit its high.
All right, I hope you're all doing well today and staying calm in this market. The S&P finished the day about 0.5% higher, and NVIDIA finished the day about 1.9% higher. This has been a wild week in the stock market. The main thing weighing on NVIDIA, as well as weighing on the entire market this week, has been the tariff situation and the rapid swings back and forth on tariff policies. The market is dealing with uncertainty right now, and the market hates uncertainty. Look, I'll keep the commentary short on this one and cut straight to the chase. I'm still bullish on the long-term future of NVIDIA. Nothing has changed regarding my outlook for the company over the next 1 to 2 years. That being said, this whole tariff situation, coupled with traders exiting their positions due to NVIDIA's slowing revenue growth rate, has not been enjoyable, to say the least. But regardless of that, I still think NVIDIA will be worth substantially more in the future than it is today. And the lower NVIDIA goes, the more attractive it becomes, both as a long-term investment and a trade. NVIDIA's multiple has come down substantially over the past couple weeks or so. Right now, we have to get through this trepid moment as markets come to grips with tariffs. And in the short term, we have two potential risks to NVIDIA very soon. Reciprocal tariffs in early April, which may include tariffs on Taiwan, and the upcoming release of DeepSeek's R2 model. Let me very briefly address both of these. I think in the long term, NVIDIA will be fine regardless of the tariff situation. In the short term, though, is causing some uncertainty and pain. And regarding DeepSeek's upcoming model release, based on what I'm seeing online, it appears that DeepSeek is rushing to launch R2 before early May. And so it may be released sometime this month or next. Remember, DeepSeek's models are not a bad thing for NVIDIA, and I think they will actually help drive more demand for NVIDIA's products, as we're already starting to see following the release of R1. What concerns me, though, is that there is still a fair amount of managers and analysts who still don't understand that DeepSeek's models are not a bad thing for NVIDIA. Hopefully I'm wrong about that, and market participants understand this now, but I'm not so sure. That being said, if NVIDIA trades lower following the announcement of reciprocal tariffs on Taiwan, or if NVIDIA trades lower following the release of DeepSeek's R2, I think both of these would just be short-term drawdowns that don't make a difference in the long-term trajectory of NVIDIA. Hyperscalers are still ramping up CapEx. NVIDIA is ramping production of what will be their most profitable product to date. And with the performance improvements that NVIDIA is delivering from one generation of product to the next, companies will continue purchasing their latest products. Speaking of NVIDIA's latest products, we have GTC in about 10 days with a keynote from Jensen Huang on March 18th. NVIDIA leadership told us on their earnings call that Jensen's keynote will be a, quote, news-packed event where we will learn about Blackwell Ultra, Rubin, and the next clip of product after Rubin. In the short term, we may experience more turbulence in the days ahead. But from a long-term perspective, the thesis surrounding NVIDIA and the build-out of AI infrastructure remains firmly intact. Remember to stay calm in this market. Remember to maintain a long-term perspective, and do not make any hasty or irrational decisions. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.